we're back. For some ungodly reason, you guys want to see me bake again. But here we are again. We're making a beautiful maple pear tarte tatin. Sounds fancy, is fancy, looks fancy, but it's so simple to make. That's the most beautiful thing about it all. So, first step, obviously, maple pear tarte tatin, you need your pears. I just have some really nice Anjou pears, the Anjou pears. The biggest thing you want to make sure is that they are relatively on the firmer side when you go to pick them out, because you are baking them. If they're a little bit too soft, they're going to get too mushy in the dish, and you don't want that to happen. All I'm going to do is just peel them very quickly, and you want to peel them totally, just like a potato. All right, so pears are peeled. Next thing we want to do is just, so I left the tops on here just because it's a little hard to peel. I'm just going to go ahead and slice those right off, in the bottom, and then just right down the middle. And then, so once we have these halves, what you want to do is cut this half in half. So you're left with something like this, like almost like the quarter of the pear. So you want to go ahead and do that to all 4 of your pears, and then be sure that you are, once you're done, going in and kind of cutting out the core. So I'll show you what that looks like real quick. You just have a very thin little stripe here of the core. So all I'm going to do is just take my knife, so put this on the cutting board and take my knife and just kind of slant a little cut just like this, and then just go in and take that last little seed out. So you're left with just cute little decored pear quarter. So I'm gonna go through, cut these down the rest of the way, decore all of them, and then we'll talk again when we're ready. All right, so our pears are cored, quartered, peeled, all that good stuff, ready to go. So we're gonna set them aside while we make our sauce in the pan real quick. But one thing you wanna do so they don't oxidize or turn brown while you're waiting, just take a lemon, cut it right in half, and then you wanna just squeeze the lemon right over top of the pears. Just make sure that you got lemon juice getting on each pear. So I just took 1 whole lemon, and I'm just kind of going like that. And then what I'm gonna do is just make sure that they're all covered. And then what we're gonna do is start to build our sauce, like our tarte tatin sauce, in our cast iron pan here. So we're gonna start in here. We're gonna go in with 1/2 cup of maple syrup. And you wanna make sure that it's real maple syrup. Sorry, Aunt Jemima, but it's gotta be real maple syrup. If you use the fake maple syrup, then it adds a little bit too much sweetness to the dish, and you start to get into like a realm where it's just everything, like the sugar and the sweetness is overwhelming all the other flavors. So then I'm gonna go in with just about 1/2 stick of butter, or 4 tablespoons of butter, however you wanna look at it, potato. And my pan and my heat is off right now. I'm just getting everything in the pan to start, and then we'll turn the heat on once we're ready. And then I'm gonna take my lemon, and I'm gonna juice 1 whole lemon into here as well. So again, just using the hand method to try to keep as many seeds as possible out. What we're gonna do is just turn this on to medium heat, let the butter melt, let everything come together. You almost want it to caramelize just a little bit, and then we're gonna turn the heat off and put the pears in. So I'm gonna get my heat on, get it on medium heat, and we're gonna let that melt, and we'll come back when we're ready. So we see that it's bubbling a little bit here. The butter is getting all nice and melted. So what I did is I just turned the heat down to low, medium low, somewhere in there. And we're gonna let this cook and stir it occasionally, and kind of let it deepen in color a little bit. Like I said, almost caramelize. But you wanna keep an eye on it, don't let anything burn. So just make sure your heat is down to like low, medium low, somewhere in there. And this should take probably around 5 minutes or so to really come together and become a full caramel. Our caramel mix is done in the pan. You saw it's definitely deepened and colored. It's thickened up really beautifully, and we're ready to get our pears in there. So what I'm gonna do is just take all of our pears, and be sure when you're doing this, turn your heat off on your pan all the way, and make sure you don't touch that caramel in there, because it's hot as shit. It's gonna burn the hell out of you, and you don't want that to happen. So what you wanna do is take your pears that you cut and kind of lay them just like this down in the pan. And then just stack them. So like, I'll do it in my hand real quick. All you wanna do is just kind of keep them going in the same direction and stack them just like that, like in a circle around the pan. And as you're laying the pears in, lay them on one side, and whatever side you choose, keep that consistent throughout the rest of your pan as you're going. And the caramel in there should help the pears kind of stay up on their own. So as you can see, I'm just kind of going in and laying them right next to each other just in a concentric little circle around the pan. And then what we're gonna do, once these are all in the pan and organized, is we're gonna turn the heat back on to medium, and we're gonna cook these pears for just 3 to 4 minutes. And then we're gonna toss them into our oven at 375 degrees for 10-15 minutes until the puff pastry on the top is ready to go. I'm gonna do really quick, hit it with just a little bit of salt, maybe like a teaspoon, and a little bit of pepper. And that's it. Our pears are lined in the pan beautifully. So what I'm gonna do now is turn my heat onto medium, and we're gonna let these cook for just about 3 to 4 minutes. In the meantime though, go ahead and get out your pre-made, grocery store is fine, your frozen sheet of puff pastry. Make sure it's a sheet and not like a cup or anything like that, because you want it to be able to kind of lay over top of your whole pan here. So what you want to do is roll this out just a little bit thinner than what it naturally already is, and then we're going to want to cut a circle into it and lay it right over top of these pears before we stick it into the oven. All I'm going to do is, once those are done, actually I think they're done right now. So once those are done, I'm just going to lay this right over top of the pears, the whole pan. And one thing you want to make sure is that you're covering all of those pears in there as evenly as you can. And if you can definitely cut it into a circle if your pan is either smaller or you're just feeling extra. I'm not feeling extra, so I'm not gonna cut it in a circle, but biggest thing is you just wanna make sure that your puff pastry is like kind of tucked in underneath the edge of the pan. Because once it's done and once it's fully baked, we're actually gonna flip it onto a plate. God willing, fingers crossed, it's gonna work. You want it to almost kind of form like an upside down pie, almost. So this is what it should look like in your pan. Again, if it's circular and you kind of cut it out to fit this, whatever size pan you have exactly, then it'll look a little bit more, a little bit better than this looks right now. Before we stick this into our preheated 375 degree oven, what you want to do is just cut 3 slits. They don't have to be big, just basically like poke through your puff pastry right in the middle, because you want to let the steam escape from the pears as it bakes, because if you don't, then the puff pastry is going to like basically lift off of the pears and you're not going to be able to kind of flip it over traditionally. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this into our oven, and I will see you when it's done. We are back with our maple pear tarte tatin. She is done. She's ready to be flipped. Fingers are crossed. As you can see, the puff pastry really got really nice and golden on here. So here's the moment of truth. So what you want to do, a few things you want to consider. Get a plate that's big enough to, number one, like rest on top of your dish like this. And then number 2, that's big enough to hold the pastry on the plate. All right, so we're gonna flip this over, just real quick, just kind of do it. I'm gonna pick my pants, but that's okay because I'm not sure how this is gonna come out. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right, she's flipped. She's flipped. The pan's still on the plate, but she's flipped. Oh my God. Look at that fucking beautiful thing. Look at that. Oh my God. She's beautiful. Crusty edges. The pears are super tender. Real quick, I like to do just a really simple garnish. Just take some sliced almonds and just kind of let them fall where they fall, right over top of your pear. And that's it. And there you have a maple pear tarte tatin. If for some reason that like you went to flip it over and it didn't come out, it broke, whatever it is, it's still gonna taste great. So still dive into it. Have at it. Have some fun. So let's cut into it. Let's see how we did. I'm just gonna cut right through. And you just wanna cut it just like a pie, basically. It's gonna be a little bit messy, but that's okay. Let's give it a try, let's see. Smells great. Pears are super tender. Pastry is fully cooked. So good. Not overly sweet or anything. Really nicely balanced between the maple syrup, the almonds, the pears, the puff pastry. It's delicious. So that's all I got for you today. That is our for sure last baking video of 2020. I can promise you that. 2021, I can't make any promises about that yet, but at least for the time being, this will be my last baking video. I love it. Both recipes I've done have come out great, but like I said, it's just not for me, girl, and that's all right. If it's not for you, it's not for you. As always, thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe. It's a big red button right below the video. Hit it, hit the bell, all that good stuff, and stay tuned because we got a lot coming. So I'll see you soon.